Picture this. You're sitting alone in a dark room. The only light is your phone. You start scrolling mindlessly, and at first, you feel fine. Maybe you're even in a good mood, proud of what you got done today. But then you see someone showing off their spotless kitchen, or a young woman talking about her third thriving business, or a couple laughing on some beach you can barely afford to dream about. Suddenly, your own life, the one that just felt solid and okay, shrinks. It looks dim and messy compared to what you see on your screen. Honestly, I've spent way too much time lately thinking about this silent competition we all stumble into online. None of us really signed up for it. We're the first people in history who wake up each morning instantly comparing our real, rough footage to everyone else's polished, Instagram-ready highlights. It's like a psychological maze. We're constantly measuring ourselves against a fake idea of perfection that doesn't even exist outside the phone. I used to think that the internet was this amazing window into the world, a place where we could be inspired and see what was possible. But I've realized that for many of us, it's actually become a mirror that only shows us what we're lacking. I remember a few years ago, I was actually proud of the things I was doing. I had my own little hobbies, my own sense of style, and a path that felt right for me. But as the digital world became louder and more visual, I noticed my internal voice started to change. I wasn't asking, is this making me happy anymore? Instead, I was asking, does this look as good as what they're doing? I started looking at my past, thinking about the versions of myself that felt plain or boring compared to the high energy, high aesthetic lives I saw on my feed. I realized that I had carried this old wound of not being enough from a previous stage in my life, and social media just acted like a magnifying glass for that insecurity. It's a dangerous thing when you start to believe that your life is only valuable if it's enviable, and I watched myself slowly trade my genuine curiosity for a desperate need to keep up with people who didn't even know I existed. The comparison trap messes with your head. It keeps you on alert, always needing to do more, be more, show more. I've caught myself having a genuinely lovely moment, sun streaming in, talking with someone I care about, and instead of just enjoying it, my first urge is to wonder, should I post this? That's when you know it's gotten out of control. When your reality becomes something to package as content, you stop actually experiencing it. It's a weird tug of war. Your brain knows the perfection online is a lie. Filters, edits, retakes, but your heart feels left out anyway. You start resenting your own home or job or face because it never matches the shiny, filtered versions you see for hours. This doesn't just stay inside your head, it bleeds into the way you treat the people around you and the way you show up in your relationships. When you're stuck in the comparison trap, you start looking at your partner or your friends or your family through this tinted lens of dissatisfaction. You start wondering why your partner doesn't say the poetic things you see in viral captions, or why your friend group doesn't look as cohesive and aesthetic as the groups you see online. It creates this sense of emotional distance because you're no longer appreciating the person standing in front of you for who they are. You're comparing them to a fictionalized version of a human being. I've seen it happen where perfectly good relationships fall apart simply because one person became convinced that they were settling for a normal life when they should be living a cinematic one. The fear of not being good enough or not being the power couple starts to rot the foundation of trust and intimacy because you're too busy looking at the next best thing to notice the person who is actually there, holding your hand through the messy, unphotogenic parts of life. The fallout from this is a soul-crushing kind of burnout that no amount of sleep can fix because it's an emotional exhaustion that comes from trying to run a race that has no finish line. You start to feel hollow, like you're just a shell of a person who is performing for an audience that doesn't actually care about you. I've talked to people who have achieved the dream life, the one that looks incredible in photos, and they tell me that they've never felt more alone because they're terrified that if they stop performing, if they show one flaw or one bad day, the whole house of cards will come crashing down. There's this constant conflict between wanting to be seen and being terrified of being known, because being known means people seeing the parts of you that aren't pretty, the parts that are struggling, and the parts that don't have it all figured out. You end up in this cycle of guilt and uncertainty, wondering if you'll ever be able to just be without the pressure of having to prove your worth through a screen. So those heavy questions stick with you. Can we ever go back to valuing ourselves outside of online stats? Is it possible to rebuild self-esteem that isn't hooked to comparisons? Have we trained ourselves to only notice what's missing? Can we be satisfied with a normal life, or have we been spoiled by highlight reels? Honestly, I don't know if there's an easy fix. Maybe we just learn to live through the noise and protect whatever quiet we have left. Is it too late to rediscover joy in moments no one else sees, or are we so hooked on outside validation that we don't even know how to validate ourselves? I've had to do a lot of hard thinking about this, and what I've realized is that the only way to win win a race that doesn't end is to simply stop running. Personal growth in the digital age isn't about becoming better than the people on your screen. It's about becoming more connected to the person in the mirror. I've learned that the most valuable parts of my life are the ones that are boring to the internet. The slow mornings, the hard cries, the inside jokes that don't make sense to anyone else, and the mistakes that I actually learned from. Communication, both with ourselves and with the people we love, has to become more than just a broadcast. It has to be a sanctuary. We have to be brave enough to be unimpressive by the world's standards so that we can be authentic on our own. I've realized that my self-worth is not a finite resource that gets used up when someone else succeeds. Someone else's light doesn't make my world any darker, and their journey has absolutely zero impact on the validity of mine. Honestly, I don't think we'll ever escape comparing ourselves to others. The world's always pitching us some shinier version of ourselves, but we actually get to decide how much space we give that game. Lately, I've stopped chasing my reflection in a dark phone screen and started looking for it in the faces of people who actually know my story. I'm stepping into the unknown with hope. I hope that I don't need to be perfect to matter. Whether you ditch the apps, set tough boundaries, or just shift your outlook, I hope you find the guts to live a life that feels honest inside, even if it doesn't impress anybody outside. The future is going to be chaotic, rough, and honest, and that's so much better than anything perfect I've ever scrolled past. Don't let all that noise drown out your quiet progress. You're enough right here, right now, no filter needed. If we're being really honest with ourselves, the most tragic part of this whole cycle isn't just that we feel bad, it's that we've lost the art of being still. We've reached a point where if a moment isn't shareable, we treat it like it didn't even happen or like it was a waste of time. I've noticed that when I'm out for a walk or sitting in a park, instead of just feeling the air or listening to the birds, my brain is already framing the shot. I'm thinking about the caption, the song I'd pair with the video, and the specific vibe I want to project. And in that exact second, the beauty of the actual moment dies. It's replaced by the labor of production. We've turned ourselves into our own paparazzi, and it's exhausting to live under that kind of constant surveillance, especially when the person watching and judging you is yourself. We're losing the ability to just exist without a witness, and without that, we lose the chance to ever truly be at peace. The thing that all of us forgets that the digital world is a graveyard of the parts that didn't make the cut. We are comparing our 24-hour days filled with laundry, arguments, bad hair days, and existential dread to someone else's curated 60 seconds of glory. It's a mathematical impossibility to win that game. I've started to realize that the people we envy are often just as trapped as we are, maybe even more so, because they have a brand to maintain. Imagine the pressure of knowing that thousands of people expect you to be flawless every single day. That isn't a life, it's a performance piece. When you start to see the influencers and the successful icons as just regular, terrified humans who are also trying to find their footing, the jealousy starts to melt away and is replaced by a weird kind of empathy. We're all just shouting into the same void, hoping someone tells us we're doing a good job. I want to get back to a place where I have secrets. Not the bad kind, but the kind of experiences that belong only to me and the people I was with. There is so much power in a memory that hasn't been digitized. I've been practicing this thing lately where I intentionally leave my phone in the other room when I'm doing something I know I'd want to post. At first, it's twitchy and uncomfortable, and I feel this weird phantom itch to reach for it, but after a while, the colors in the room seem to get brighter. The conversation gets deeper because I'm actually looking at the person's eyes, not their notification bar. We have to reclaim our right to be unseen. We have to remind ourselves that a life lived in private is not a life wasted. In fact, it might be the only kind of life that actually lets you breathe. People love talking about how connected we are, but honestly, I've never felt more alone. When you're comparing, you're not connecting. You're picking people apart or you're getting jealous, never really seeing them. Today, there are so many ways to speak, but nobody's really listening. I've watched friendships morph into contests of who's faking arrived the best, and it kills the honesty that real friendship needs. If you've spent all week posting about how blessed you are, how are you supposed to tell your friend that you're struggling? That lie turns into a wall, piece by piece. So how do we actually stop? It starts with the radical act of being bored. It starts with sitting with that sinking feeling in your chest and not trying to scroll it away. We have to learn to sit with our own inadequacy until we realize it isn't inadequacy at all. It's just humanity. I've started unfollowing accounts that make me feel like I need to buy something or change something about my face just to be valid. It's amazing how much quieter your brain gets when you stop inviting 1,000 strangers into your bedroom every morning. You don't have to delete everything and go live in the woods, but you do have to stop treating treating the internet like it's a sacred text. It's just a tool, and right now, for a lot of us, it's a tool that's breaking our hearts. I'm choosing the messy way now. I'm welcoming those days where I do nothing remarkable. My value isn't tied to productivity, and my worth isn't about aesthetics. I tried to polish my life for years, only to realize I was hiding the stuff that actually makes me unique. Looking ahead, I still see uncertainty. The world's getting more digital, not less. The pressure will keep coming, but now my hope doesn't depend on winning the game, because I finally see it's a rigged game, and I'm leaving behind the version of myself that needed universal approval and trying to be someone I actually like, alone in the quiet. The most important relationship is the one you have with yourself when the screen shuts off. If you're at ease in that silence, you've made it. If you're reading this and feeling lacking because you can't match the glow on your phone, just pause, put the phone down, look at yourself, at your hands, your clothes, the room around you. This is real. This is enough. You don't need to fix your life to make it beautiful. You just need to live it for yourself. The future's wide open and there's no like button. Thank God for that. Take it step by step, unpolished. You've got this.